Hey, we are back, still playing with the 3D printer and Tinkercad. This is from one of my past videos, or this is not past, obviously the past video, but I started doing some design work for Infinity base toppers, and this is for the Nomads, I believe. Custom Meeple had a bunch of things that came out, MDF and styrene, that I believe look like they're laser cut, and they're not really that thick. So design these. I'm not going to put it up on video, but I just did a print of my first version, and I had the holes going all the way to the floor, and these like little trenches cut in to give it a little more detail. Well, those are all the way to the floor too, so these pieces, they came out multi-pieced, which I don't want. So what I did is I put another disc of 1mm, and I believe these are going to be 2.5 to 3mm, depends on the size, on the base plate, and hopefully we'll get some smoother texture on top too. Because we're dealing with 0.4mm, which is still not, that's like a little under half a millimeter of the nozzle. It doesn't give the greatest detail, but I do have other nozzles to play with, but everything I have now is dialed in at the 0.4mm nozzle for the 3D printer. So I got this on Tinkercad. I got it switched over to Printrbot. I guess that's how you pronounce it. And there is the, let me back this out again. Let me get this back, there we go. There we go. So we got this all ready to go. I'm getting my printer primed up. Let's get the manual control. Let's get some, like I said, plastic feeding through there right now. I might need to let it warm up a little bit more. But we'll be back in a second, and we'll start the print on this. And then we will go from there. As usual, thank you for joining me, and we'll see you in a second. Okay, we are back, and we have, that's the slicer program. That's what the computer's looking at. It's calculated everything. I have it through the slicer already. And then it should be starting on the printer in any second, I think. Maybe I have to slice it again. Okay, we got it back. For some reason, I thought I hit it slice. It didn't slice. So what slicing does, it takes it and goes to the model, the STL file, and makes it so it is possible for the printer to figure out how to print it and you know, put honeycombs or whatever it does, grids in it, so he doesn't have to feel it's not completely solid constantly. And I don't think it likes it for some reason. Here we go. It's making instructions right now. Exporting G-code to computer, G-code, or composition G-code. And I have it, it's going to start printing as soon as it's done. I don't know if I made it more complicated when I thickened it. Now I'll go back. And I'm obviously going to show you the whole thing, but we'll get it started. Hopefully it works, because this thing is temperamental. Okay. And you have to be patient with this thing. 58-minute job, 41 seconds. One thing I like about Printrbot instead of Cura, as it's doing this, this is not a raft, this is kind of like a brim. So it's laying down a nice line of plastic to kind of prime it a little bit, even though I ran a bunch through it before I showed it to you on video. I ran probably no, maybe 100 centimeters through it. So that's what it's like. I'll come back in a second and give you a little update on it, because it is very slow, as you can see. And we'll be back in a second. Thank you. Okay, we are back real quick, and you can see it's printing. Actually, I've been screwing around with the temperatures a little bit. I took it down 5 degrees Celsius from 195. That for PLA, it can be anywhere from 170 to 210 or 205. I was running it at 195, and I was getting crumbs on it. It was like, I don't know, it was too gooey or something. And I took it down 5 degrees, and there's nothing wrong. And it's still not getting, you're not going to get perfectly smooth, because you're dealing with layers of plastic, and it's shooting back and forth, back and forth. But I think this will turn out nice on these base toppers. Hopefully not. I'm just speaking too soon. I'm getting crumbs now. I can't tell. Well, no, actually, that's just stitching in. That's odd. Oh, it's doing okay. Yeah, it's already done the 1 millimeter base that I wanted to put underneath it. So I didn't show you the video before where it fell apart. Might include this in this series. You might have saw it already. I'm not sure, but now it's adding the detail. The holes. I might have to spread the holes out later on, because as you can see, it's got a funky kind of pattern. But I'm going to let it run, and then when it's done printing, I'll come back and show it to you. Okay, we're back just for a quick update. We started with 58 minutes. We are now 36 minutes in, 22 minutes left. And it is looking like bases, and it looks good, and as you can see, it's nice and smooth. There's none of those crumbs I was talking about. I don't know if you've seen them on some of my past videos or not, but I think that's something to do with temperature. And it's still really vague to find helpful information out there, but it's out there, and he's got it. And what's the thing is a lot of experimentation with this and fooling around. So if you're painting something, that's what I've been doing, working on designing. Well, the last video, if you saw that, was my Infinity console. I redesigned that and figured a way to make that flatter. So I'm going to do another video on that, and I think it's going to be a little more impressive. I think I figured a way to make it flat. That screen was disgusting on there. Trying to print something on a diagonal, I guess, on a slant. It doesn't work because it's laying ribbons of plastic, not on top of each other, right next to each other, but cambered, and it did not turn out right. So I figured a way of making a multi-piece console, and we'll do another video on that in a second, or not in a second, but after this one probably. So I'm going to let this go a little longer and get some other stuff done. Usually if you're over halfway through your print, nothing will go wrong, but still keep checking on it. You got a lot, a lot of hot temperatures and stuff like that. And I'll see you in a second. Thanks. Hey, we're back, and it is done. So I can move the bed back and forth freely. All the motors are off, and everything's cooling down. Excuse me. I'm gonna let this cool down a little bit more because this got pretty hot, and I am really, really pleased. This is the first time I've tried probably one of my best prints. No weird crumbs. We're still not going to get that perfect flatness. I know I have to use a smaller nozzle for that, but it looks really good for what it is, and you got the small detail there. I'm going to take this off in a second, and we'll be back. I'm going to see what it looks like on top of a base, and maybe pull out a couple of the Infinity miniatures, which aren't together. It's a little baggy still, but we'll kind of see what that looks like, and we'll compare them to some custom meeple I bought their bases. So I'm not going to sell these or anything. These are for my own use. These are a little hardier than theirs, a little thicker, and add a little more detail. They're not just holes. So you got these little nice little trenches in the floor to add some more detail. It looks like it's big metal plates. I forgot the name of that. It was like something in World War II, and they made those runways. That'll come to me sometime. It kind of reminds me of that a little bit. And then I got to do Pan Oceana And then I'm getting the new Ariana starter set. I think that's Ariana. Yeah, whatever. The American US Ariana. And I got to design some kind of bases for that too. I might have to use some. I want to incorporate some organic feeling to those too, because they're kind of that feel to it. So I'll be back in a second. Thanks. Okay, we are back. Here's one of the custom meeple base toppers I bought. It's 25 millimeter, and there's the base. So it gives it, I think that's probably 1 millimeter, maybe a little less. It's basically a bunch of 2 millimeter holes you still got to clean out. And here's my base. And one thing I did notice, these have to be redone again, most likely. Some of the lines were too close. So I think the computer picked it up and cut those holes off instead of having nice clean holes like this. Even this one, I think I gotta make this smaller, the trench, and it will just take away something. Like right there is perfect. I gotta see how maybe change the spacing a little more. Shouldn't be too difficult, but we'll work on that. And also I noticed one of the so you can see that ring that's laid down. This one's supposed to be up, and it did not print out well. And I've done those before. These are kind of a modification from the Dust Tactic tank traps I did, and I put a little detail on those with a little hook. I might have to just make them a little bit bigger, because this, you know, there's a lot of detail. But these fit perfectly, and I do like gives the base a little more, makes it a little more solid looking. And we do have these grooves to deal with the 3D printing, the way it layers. What we can do is maybe sand these back, or paint these a nice black to match the base, and then do with your colors, and then edge highlight, and go from there. So that was just a quick little experiment in these. We will do some more stuff. Also, I did some. This is on the silhouette portrait. I didn't quite get the holes out, but I got the detail. I can't see this on camera, but there's the little 2 millimeter holes, and these actually there's a little bit too big. Yeah, these are 55 millimeter bases, and that's just perfect on there. So these are kind of not working out. Let's see if the 25 millimeters work. No, made them too big. Maybe I wasn't measuring correctly, but no big deal. Most likely we aren't going to use these, but we can use them from something else. We can cut out squares of it or whatever and use these for some kind of other terrain project later on. And I got to find my other, I lost a bunch of these because I had a whole set of these, just like I have. These are the Panosiana. These are the MDF and styrene base toppers for those, and I might use those. I'm not sure, but I can still do some 3D printing too. Put that to good use, and you know, add a little more thickness to the base topper, and give a little more heft to the base. So that is going to be it. I'm going to put these bases away in this plastic baggie, and I will see you in the next video. Thank you for joining me.